Welcome to CHGO Stars, and the good news, since the last time we were here, the Stars won a game. The bad news is they've lost all... Oh, boy. Bad news is they've lost all the other ones. It's gone about as well as this intro, and they're in last place. This is CHGO Stars, presented by Sunnyside. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 and over or Illinois medical card holders. Welcome in to our CHGO studios here on this wonderful spring Tuesday. I'm Alex Campbell, and later on in the show, I'm going to be joined by Tara from the Scuffed Podcast and their spin-off Boots on the Ground, their relatively new still USWNT and NWCL podcast to talk about some non-star storylines, maybe a bit of stars as well, but everything that's been going on in the last month since our last show around the league and with the U.S. women's national team. There's plenty to get to on those topics, so we will get to that later. But first, we do have to talk about the 4 games that the Chicago Stars have played since our last episode. In 3 of those 4 games, the Stars scored 0 goals and lost. And in the other one, Ludmila scored the only 2 goals she has scored all season, and the Stars won. I guess the correlation you can put together there is when your starting striker scores multiple goals, it's generally good for winning. The first one, Stars 0, Racing Louisville 1. Not a whole lot to say about this game because almost nothing happened in it. The lone goal comes off a turnover, kind of a theme for the way both Chicago soccer teams are conceding goals this season. Emma Sears lines up a shot, takes a big deflection, loops over Alyssa Nair, no chance, 1-0. Stars generated absolutely nothing in this game. Not a whole lot of people were in attendance at SeatGeek Stadium for this one, and we're not given a whole lot of reason to come back. The anomaly here in recent games, for a lot of reasons. Bay FC 1, Stars 2. A win, not something we see a lot these days. A win on the road, something this team never does. That really did happen, and it started just 5 minutes in with a Ludmila goal. Great patience, calm finish, and then she did a backflip to celebrate. If you haven't seen it, look that up. Really great ball by Jamise Joseph, the young American attacker, to pick up the assist on this one after the Stars played out through some pressure. Again, it's these glimpses. You see that this is a team of talented players who are capable of some good soccer. We saw it on this goal. It was pretty direct. We'd love to see more of this. We did actually see more of this in this game. We'll get to that in a moment. This goal was actually ruled offside at first. It looked like it was offside, and then it went to VAR, and they gave the goal, even though I personally did not see anything in the replays to indicate that it was, in fact, onside. We'll take it. 18th minute, Stars do the exact same thing that led to this goal. Ludmila almost scores again. Cameron Biegalski plays the ball this time, but Ludmila's touch is a little bit heavy, and credit to former USWNT center back Abby Dahlkemper, who gets back on the line to clear it and prevent it from being 2-0. It would eventually be 2-0. In the 41st minute, it's Ludmila again, this time just breaking ankles, pulling out some of the flair, calm finish into the bottom corner. When the Stars signed Ludmila from Atletico Madrid last summer, even though she didn't debut until pretty late in the season, this is the player they signed. You know, she's a Brazilian international. She has all of this talent. If she can consistently play like this, Mal Swanson, no Mal Swanson, good game, bad game, she's a game breaker in this league, and it's a little frustrating that this is the only time this season we've seen them and her be able to both, unlock her abilities and then to see Ludmila play at this high a level at the same time. She almost scored again right before halftime, shoots just over. It's good to see in this game, this was an example where the Stars found something that worked, and it was going direct, to Ludmila. It was playing those balls in behind the relatively high Bay FC defensive line and exploiting that space in behind. And they kept going to that well, and that's the sort of thing, when you find something that works, it doesn't have to be pretty. It's kind of what Lauren Donaldson, especially when I think back to the Jamaica team he took to a World Cup, it doesn't have to be pretty if it's effective. It's just unfortunate we haven't seen more effective soccer from the Stars this season. Bay did get a goal late in this one after Maitane had a kind of silly handball. Her hand was way away from her body, blocked a shot. But it finishes 2-1. Stars get their first win of the year, and at that time got themselves off the bottom of the NWSL table because there were still two teams, North Carolina and Utah, that at that point had not won a game. That changed the next week. Utah Royals 1, Stars 0. Another game where literally nothing happened. The Stars seemed to kind of specialize in games of this sort. The only real action was in the 6th minute of stoppage time at the end of the game. Initially, there's some contact between Kerry Recaro and a Utah attacker. Foul not given. Goes to VAR. Takes a very long time, and eventually they do give the penalty. Was it a foul? Probably. It wasn't great either that as soon as the contact happened, Kerry Recaro put her hands up and stared nervously at the referee. I'm honestly kind of shocked because of that reaction alone that he didn't point to the spot immediately. Instead, it went to VAR. It was given. Allie Sentnor, young American and the star of that Utah team, she steps up, scores. They get their first win of the year at the Stars' expense out there in Utah. And then the final game of the four, the one from this past weekend, was not a banner Saturday and Sunday for the professional soccer teams of Chicago. Net score, Nashville and San Diego 10, Fire and Stars 2. And those of you at home doing the math and knowing the results know that that means Stars 0, San Diego Wave 3. Stars actually started this game pretty well, and then San Diego takes the lead because the Stars can't clear a corner. And the thing that is just still so frustrating about this team is it feels like the fundamentals can be a problem. Like just completing simple passes, again, in this case, you're defending a corner. Once that first ball is just kind of headed up in the air, anywhere will do. Just get it clear. And this team, they create their own problems so often. And this is an example where this is a ridiculous goal to give up. San Diego plays some nice soccer. It pays off later in the game. And no, the fact that San Diego scored 3 goals against the Stars is not something that is, to me, inherently surprising. But you cannot, at this level, be giving up goals like this one. This is why you see people making comments online about how would the Stars do against the top teams from the USL Super League, who are, again, it's not a second division, but for all intents and purposes, it's best thought of right now as a lower division. And, this Stars team, they can't get through 90 minutes almost ever without making just some really elementary mistakes. Positive takeaway from this game. Can we get a Michaela Johnson start? I know, she's a teenager. You want to be careful. You don't want to overplay the kids, especially in this sport, especially when they're super young, because you don't want to be too hard on their bodies. But she is a constant bright spot. Anytime she comes into a game, that included this game, comes in the second half, is creating danger. It's still just 1-0 at this point, and it looks like the Stars might get back into this game. And then in the 81st minute, it's 2-0. Leon, the striker for San Diego, forces a goal home that I think is going to technically go down as a Sam Staub own goal. This is an example where, not to bag on Kerry Recaro again, but she loses her mark. She checks her shoulder to see where Leon is, and then Leon takes 2 steps back. Free header, scramble, ball goes in the back of the net. This is a situation then where Sam Staub is trying to mark 2 strikers. Doesn't go well. And then San Diego get their 3rd goal in stoppage time. Everybody on the Stars is exhausted because they're chasing the game. They're all ball watching defensively, and Ascanio just with a nice outside of the right boot flick into an open net past a diving Alyssa Nair. Yeah, it's not good. Again, that Bay FC game feels like a total anomaly. It doesn't feel like the Stars have settled on repeatable things to do with the ball. It doesn't seem like there's a clear strategy, a clear way this team wants to play. I mean, to compare to the Fire real briefly, yes, the Fire lost a game 7-2 over the weekend. That sucks. But when you're watching the Fire, you generally can see what they're attempting to do with the ball. And the same just isn't true of the Stars. And as a result, Sean, behind the camera, let's take a look at that table. And the NWCL standings, they do not look great. If you're watching on YouTube, that is all the way down at the bottom there. Chicago Stars, 6 games, 3 points, that 1 win. A goal differential of -11. That is 5 worse than anybody else in the league. They have scored the fewest goals. They have conceded the most. Generally, not a great combo. Meanwhile, at the top, Kansas City Current and Orlando Pride with identical perfect records. Spirit and Gotham, hey, look, it's the same top 4 from last season. San Diego Wave right now, the big climbers at 5. Portland Bay, Seattle, Angel City, Houston kind of in the middle. The Courage finally got their first win of the season. They have just kind of woken up recently. And then you've got Racing and Utah just above the Stars. None of those teams particularly enjoying their seasons, but also notable that Racing Louisville and Utah Royals, both teams who have beaten the Stars in the last month by a score of 1-0. That doesn't exactly make the picture any rosier. Zooming out, though, we're a couple months into the season, getting to a point where you can start to draw some conclusions. I think the biggest thing I've liked overall, and from this last month, that Ludmila, Jamise Joseph front 2, I think there's a lot to like about that, because Ludmila is a player who wants to get in behind, who just wants to make center backs' lives hell, and that creates a lot of space for a player like Joseph, who's a bit more languid, trying to pick up space. She can drift wide, she can drop in, she can be more of a striker. She is one of the reasons to watch this team right now, Jamise Joseph, and I think her and Ludmila are developing a really nice forward partnership. The problems are everything behind that. The center back choices right now, I don't understand. It was Hannah Anderson to start the season, was starting every game, and then a couple weeks ago had a kind of high-profile mistake, and now Carrie Riccaro is partnering Sam Staub back there after Riccaro was moved back from midfield, which I think in general is an improvement, but I still don't understand why Anderson has found herself absolutely stuck to that bench. It's more glaring every day that this team just didn't bring in any reinforcements this season, or enough for that matter, especially on defense. Players look tired. You're giving significant minutes to people who were signed, after like the transfer window closed. You just have kind of bodies making up the difference. And that's never going to go well at this level of the game, especially, again, you look at the teams at the top end of this league. You look at the Orlandos and the Kansas Cities and the Washington Spirits of the world. They are just playing a different game in terms of squad depth and approach and so many levels of this. And kind of on that same token, it's been frustrating that the Stars haven't experimented more. This is something that I harped on with the Fire for years, is like, hey, if you're not good, at least try different things. Give some kids a chance. Try different formations. Try different tactics. Mix it up. Instead, when you go to watch a Stars game these days, you kind of know exactly what you're signing up for in those next 90 minutes, and that's just so immensely frustrating for anybody watching the games. Just, again, you want to see something. Again, that's why I think I want to see so many more minutes from Michaela Johnson, because to quote, I'm going to paraphrase, this is former U.S. men's coach Bruce Arena, I believe, talking about Clint Dempsey and why he liked him so much, is the quote was, quote, he tries shit. And that's what Michaela Johnson has been this season for this team. She's the one player, maybe it's because she's like 17 years old and doesn't know any better, but she's willing to go out there and try shit and try to make something happen. And it's something that we just haven't seen from a lot of the more veteran players on this team. And frankly, I think part of it's because there aren't that many players on the roster right now who are capable of taking over a game. This is the point in the show where we acknowledge that, no, Mallory Swanson is still not with this team. Although, on a lighter note, happy birthday to Mallory today. If you're watching or listening to this on Tuesday, today is her actual birthday, and we wish her all the best and would love to see her back in the field soon, and or for whatever is keeping her off the field, hope everything is all right, and wishing her and her family all the best. Because, yeah, it's the reality, though, as well, that I'm not sure even Mallory Swanson fixes this. Again, does her, Ludmila, and Joseph frontline sound really exciting? Yeah. But then, when I'm watching, Julia Grosso being played as a right-sided midfielder in a 4-4-2 rather than playing centrally where she's most dangerous, again, I think the problems here are a bit more structural. Yes, Swanson would unequivocally help this team. And yes, things would be better with her on the field. They'd score some more goals, certainly. But, at the same time, again, I'm not sure the fundamental problems that this team is experiencing really change at all if you add Swanson to this at this time. Hoping to be joined shortly here by Tara from Scuffed and Boots on the Ground. Again, they've done some great work over there, deepening their women's soccer coverage. So looking forward to that conversation. In the meantime, looking ahead on the Stars themselves, I mean, it's not like any of this gets any easier as I pull up the upcoming schedule. Gotham, Spirit, North Carolina, Kansas City Current in the next 4. So that's 3 of the top 4 are all in there in the next month. That is just brutal for the Stars, and it's just hard to see what the light at the end of the tunnel is here, because right now it's you're just kind of staring into the void. Might have to double check. Tara is in the lobby, she said, of the eCam link, but we know that this show and the video tech have not always been the most accommodating. So we'll try to resend that when we get a chance and get Tara aboard. Because the NWSL right now, it's been interesting to see. Again, what has stayed the same and what's different. Again, San Diego, to kind of dwell on the game from this past weekend, they're coached by former Arsenal manager Jonas Eidevall, and he's got them playing some really, really nice soccer, generally speaking. And it's the sort of experience where it makes you kind of take note of what might be possible for, again, this is a team that really struggled last year in NWSL, and they're out here this year, and they're playing really nice soccer. They made some signings that I thought they were going to struggle. I thought they were going to be down with the Stars in the table, and instead they are, they're in 5th. They're looking good, again, even with a bunch of players who are new to the NWSL and a bunch of kids as well, including Melanie Barcenas, who's, 15 years old and going out there, 16 years old now maybe, making a huge impact. We've resent the link to our guest. Hopefully she is able to join us here briefly. But yeah, it's just been a season where you look at the table and a lot of it feels extremely explainable in the way it's going. I just heard a ring, which means I think we are going to be able to bring Tara in here momentarily. And we are live. Tara, thanks so much for taking the time. Good to see you, zooming in from wherever you are these days. Welcome to CHGO Stars, and welcome to being on the other side of the microphone for a podcast. And I think we might still working on some audio, making sure everybody is unmuted. So apologies for the YouTube audience, things we can clean up and post on the podcast side. Tara, can you hear me? We're still the beauties of technical difficulties. Don't we absolutely love them? So again, apologies here on the YouTube audience. We are working to figure this out. Hold on one moment. And again, as a special shout out today to anybody who's been watching live on YouTube for the Fire or the Stars shows during the Champions League semifinals. I greatly appreciate
Can you
your
hear me?
dedication. Yes, Tara, can you hear us?
I cannot hear you. I'm
So
so
we can hear
sorry.
Tara, but Tara cannot hear us. So we are making steps in the right direction. It would seem.
It's better now.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I think we are good. Okay, so well, technical difficulties aside, I think we are all set here. So Tara, I've always loved the appearances that women's soccer made on the main Scuffed feed. Again, shout out to Woso Wednesday, but you and your co-host Vince recently, at least, recently relatively to the NWCL season, first full NWCL season with boots on the ground. Thanks so much for being here. And I guess my question would just be, what was the motivation? Why'd you guys decide, hey, let's split this thing off. Let's make this our own thing under the broader Scuffed umbrella?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, audio difficulties aside. And we all loved doing Woso Wednesday with Scuffed, um, especially the episodes on the main feed. But three, sometimes four schedules just got too much to juggle on top of scheduling full time men's content. So, for the sake of honoring the women's team with the attention they deserve and the content we feel like the listeners of Woso Wednesday deserve, we felt it best to dedicate a separate channel completely to US women's soccer, which led us to Boots on the Ground, Scuff's first separate channel.
Yeah, kind of showing the growth of the podcast. For those who aren't familiar, Scuffed was kind of born out of a passion for following up and coming U.S. men's players, U.S. youth players. This kind of goes back to the kind of post humiliation in Trinidad and Tobago era of things where there was kind of this want of hope for the future. And it's grown into this entire U.S. men, U.S. women, really kind of comprehensive coverage on podcasts of both player pools. Speaking though, kind of going back to the roots here, Tara, I was talking a little bit earlier on today's show about how one of the few bright spots for the Stars this year has been Michaela Johnson. And I know as somebody in yourself who is a follower of the women's youth program and somebody who, like me, gets excited about these players, and again, for me personally right now, Michaela Johnson is our local version of this. When you've watched her play, why do you think, what do you find so exciting about her? How excited do you think U.S. fans should be about Johnson as a player? And in the same vein, what hope should Stars fans have, given that she's currently playing her ball here in Chicago?
Yeah, well, I can understand the frustration of any Chicago fan right now. I mean, y'all are going through it, but from a national team perspective, Michaela Johnson has consistently shown above her class at the youth national team games. And for the girls' team, U17 has shown to be a good level to judge because you can see your players start to grow and start to establish themselves as the players that you can count on to take that next step, be it U19 camps, U20 camps, when it's time to move up a class. That's where we were introduced to Sophia. That's where we were introduced to Michelle Cooper, who's now leading the league in XG. That's where we were introduced to Jaden Shaw. Even the last year at the U17 World Cup, it was the Mel B, Kennedy Fuller, Trinity Armstrong show. And
Right.
those three players are really doing well in the league right now. I mean, I thought Trinity Armstrong was one of the best players for San Diego Wave. And if you can see if you can see the connection between the U17 class and show that Michaela Johnson is the best player currently for our U17 class, I think that that's a real reason for Chicago to be excited. Um, if I was a Chicago fan, I would want my young attacker to be with Lauren, even if the club is melting down right now. I think there's a lot of reason to be excited, and there's always a turning point in this league. I mean, Houston's in a growing point right now, and they were horrible last year. Um, Jamise Joseph, I think she is another really young youth national team player that Michaela Johnson can learn a lot from. And those two are investment pieces and ones that I feel confident are going to pay off for a club in the long term.
Absolutely. And just as while they're here, I'd like to see them on the field together a bit more because it does feel like they are both players who, again, if I'm somebody, especially a club outside the league, because I think inside the league, given the current mechanisms, this might be a bit hard to do. But I think Jamise Joseph has got to be a player that is just kind of a bright flashing light to anybody abroad scouting the NWSL. Say, hey, here's a player who is on a not very good team right now, but even on that not very good team is showing all the talent and quality that she's got. Let's move to more general NWSL, USWNT adjacent topics. First of all, who do you think loses first, Tara? Orlando or Kansas City? Because they are literally the exact same teams on paper right now.
Well, I mean, they've both lost. So who loses to each other first?
I guess that's what it is. I guess I did my math badly. They've both got the one loss. They have identical records. Yeah, I guess in this repeat of last season, who's the team that you feel like ends up being the one on top?
I think it's Kansas City's to lose this year. I think they are playing better soccer, and I think Orlando is so intimidating, but they're making silly mistakes. And Kansas City, they just have such a deep bench. I think they have the most intimidating, most talented midfield in the game. And I just see Kansas City going all the way this year. I really do. Um I mean, parity is back a little tiny bit right
Mm-hmm.
now because Kansas City did just lose to North Carolina, who at the time were the last place team. But as Vladko said, you can't relax even for a second. Um, but I just think Kansas City has too deep of a bench compared to Orlando, and that's gonna be the deciding factor.
Yeah, Kansas City's just such a scary team from front to back. You mentioned Trinity Armstrong in San Diego, which it's kind of unfair that they might have gotten a Naomi Girma clone right after selling Naomi Girma. And you've mentioned a couple other players there. Is there any American player, not necessarily on the younger end, but any player in particular here in these first couple months of the NWSL season that you've really been impressed by or that you think has kind of significantly raised their reputation in your mind?
Yeah, listen, I'm like the Rob Lowe picture with the NFL hat. Like, I just simply like watching women's soccer, especially from a national team perspective. So there are ebbs and flows to this answer, which I know is so annoying. So please bear with me, but I think Alyssa Thompson is having a magnificent start to the year, but with the understanding that she plays for a terrible team. So is she having an MVP year? I don't think you can say that because Angel City's not going to have that long of a run. And did it take Sophia getting pregnant, Mal going missing, Trinity breaking her back for it to happen? Maybe. But it's happening and she's growing up, and I think it's something that we all should really enjoy because it's really fun to watch at the current in NWSL period that we're watching right now. But from a World Cup is 2 years away for a time frame lens, we have time to develop young players lens. to be that girl, I think my answer is probably going to have to be Claire Hutton.
Hmm.
Kansas City, Kansas City's midfield, like I mentioned, I feel like it's the best midfield in the league. She is partnered up with Lola Bonto, which is just, setting her up for success, but also from year one to year two, you can see that she's given more responsibility defensively and offensively. I think that she is, given such ownership of that midfield. She's with Vanessa DiBernardo. I mean, she's with legends of the league at such a young age, where if I were to tell somebody, like what would I watch in the NWSL each week, she would be one of my answers,
Hmm.
because you're going to see somebody continuously grow their game for a really fun team. And she just got a great assist last week too. So it's just something you keep getting week in and week out. Um and then, for everything Vlatko did wrong for women's national team fans, he's building up Michelle Cooper and Claire Hutton to be, little monsters. So
Right.
it's some give and take there. You got to forgive him for some of it. And then lastly, I'm really enjoying what I'm calling Rookie of the Year watch. So it's Hanks in Portland. She's having a really, really fun start to the year. Taylor Huff at Bay FC, and then Sarah Shupansky and Lily Reel in Gotham. Um, and then, my Trinity Armstrong shout in San Diego
Yes.
as well. Lots and lots of exciting rookies, with the extra plus of them also being youth national team call-ups, each and every one of them. It's a big year for the rookies. I mean, it's a huge class, and at the same time of them all being rookie of the year contenders, we get to watch them grow up in the youth national team system. And some of them are going to be getting senior national team call-ups in this next year as well. So it's a good time to watch the national team.
Absolutely, and it's a validation of the elimination of the draft. About like, oh, what would the impact of getting rid of the draft be? It's like, well, we now have more kids playing more minutes in the league than ever before. And the other question people had is they saw those transfers go out of the league this winter, and it's like, oh no, what will happen? And the answer is, what will happen is that more young, exciting players get more minutes, and we get to find out about them and enjoy watching them. And it goes on because players can't develop if there's no space to move into. Gotham, you mentioned, great example. Their roster looked barren this offseason. Tierna Davidson tears her ACL. It's like, oh no, what are they going to do? And turns out they are still quite good. Also, shout out in there to Naperville native, former longtime Red Star Vanessa DiBernardo. I was made to feel both sad and old the other day when I saw a graphic the NWCL put out about Lou Barnes extending her minutes played in the league record, and then basically the rest of the graphic was, here's the other people, and both Danny Colaprico and Vanessa DiBernardo made the top 5, and it's one of those like, oh wow, good times in Chicago, and they are both not that much older than I am, and so sigh. Anyway, Tara, thanks so much for the time. Before we get you out of here, we've alluded to the national team a lot, but I haven't really asked you anything directly about it. 2025 is a weird year for the USWNT. No meaningful games. Maybe no triple espresso at all. You mentioned again Sophia Wilson having a child, Mal Swanson MIA, Trinity Rodman with some really unfortunate persistent back problems. What do you want to see from Emma Hayes in the rest of 2025? And the World Cup's still a ways off. So what are you watching for? What do you think people should keep an eye on in a year that feels like it doesn't really have that much at stake?
Well, for me, it's all looking towards the World Cup and learning from our mistakes at the Olympics. So I think that there are so many things to be excited about as fans. So there are many challenges for this team that we've seen the past few camps. Like, where are the goals coming from? Who will step up and show that they're ready for the senior team? There are plenty of potentials for attackers, but has anybody really stamped that ground aside from Kat Macario? I'm not sure that they have. So continued tryouts, continued attempts at finding backups for our star players, who I do believe will come back. I'm not ready to sound any alarms. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom, but it's years away.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I think a real opportunity is to build on our midfield issues. I think our midfield has been one of the weak parts of the Emma era, gold medal notwithstanding. And we have time for her to try out some midfield, you know, options that aren't in the current system. What is it going to look like a few years out? How can we continue to develop players while not sacrificing health, which is what really, we're dealing with still a year out from the Olympics. Um, I'm not even sure that we've seen Naomi Girma's partner in a senior camp yet. I just want Emma to continue to be curious and be open to new ideas, which for the most part, I'm pretty pretty pleased with.
Well, here is to the hope that is the future, and give me as many Claire Hutton and Lily Johannes starts together in midfield as is humanly possible. Also, shout out, Tara, to your co-host on Boots on the Ground, Vince, who's been in the chat. Vince, thanks for coming in live and joining us here remotely. Always appreciate that kind of support. Tara, thank you so much for taking the time to join the show here today on CHGO Stars. Before we get you out of here, where can people find Boots on the Ground and the Discord and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, I mean, what's the saying? Wherever you search podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Overcast. Our Patreon is Boots on the Ground, which is how you can get connected to our Discord, which we share with Scuffed. We're also on Twitter and Blue Sky, which myself or Vince are normally posting up a storm through game nights. If it's a Louisville post, it's normally Vince, but you can normally find us on game nights, either one of us.
Excellent. Well, Tara, thank you so much for taking the time to join the show. Have to have you on back again soon. Thanks for riding out any audio issues or what have you. And, always great to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And that is going to do it today here on CHGO Stars. Thank you to Tara for taking the time again. Shout out to Sean Anderson producing behind the scenes. I'm Alex Campbell, and I'll see you next time here on CHGO Stars.